Right. Gonna hop in to the Fantasy Stock Exchange and do a bit of a new segment, buy and sell. And we're just gonna mention a bunch of guys, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, whose stock has changed drastically since the start of the season. Say they were a high draft pick and now they've fallen, or they were a low draft pick and now they've gone up. And whether you should typically stock exchanges, we should buy the dip and then sell high. So do you want to sell high on some guys? Do you want to buy the dip on some other guys?
Yeah.
And we'll
So the
just
so the aim of the buy low is you buy low on guys who are not performing but could perform. They have massive upside, and the sell high is people who we think are overperforming that you get good dollar value for. You got two types of traders in the leagues. You got the ones who are genuinely making trades to improve their teams and are quite fair, and then you get the scammy bastards who just send loads of trades hoping you hit the wrong button.
absolutely seen plenty of
And
those.
hopefully, you don't have a meddling commissioner who's going to veto every trade as well, because that's also a pain.
It is. Vetoes, unless something is egregiously wrong, like unless you notice like somebody's clearly being taken advantage of, or like somebody's invited their mate in and then their mate's traded them Ashton Gently for a bag of peanuts. It's unless there's something egregious, kind of keep your hands off. But yeah, just be careful when trading as well. I would say, especially if you're new to trading, because somebody who's a bit shrewd can just sell you what looks like a brick of gold, and it's dog shit when you get home. So just be careful.
The best way to walk away from a trade is when both guys think they've screwed over the other person.
hmm that's it. The idea of any trade, and this is coming from experience myself and everything, is everybody wants to win the trade. So make sure that they feel like they've won the trade. If you're trading with someone, make them feel like they've won it. But in your heart, you've won it.
Look for the gaps in their team. They're weak
Yeah.
on running backs. Offer them running backs.
Yeah, absolutely. Offer them a couple of dodgy running backs for their wide receiver one or two, and then you're walking home happy.
Gone. And on that,
Right.
buy low, sell high.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit us with my quarterbacks first because I do have a potential sell high and a potential buy low. But we'll see what you guys think. Drake May is an interesting one.
Ooh.
Drake May was drafted as the quarterback 16 in average draft position in fantasy preseason. He is now the quarterback 4 in standard scoring. So he's had an incredible start to the season. He just keeps on scoring touchdowns. Quietly productive considering the team hasn't been particularly good. Is he a sell high or is he a hold? Like what do you do with him, Thomas? What do you think as a Patriots fan?
I like him. I've got him in a couple of leagues. I want to keep
Mm.
him, but you can get him for cheap because up to 2 weeks ago, he was on the draft boards. He was on the
Mhm.
waiver wires. He was available. People have only had him for a couple of weeks most of the time, but he seems to be consistent and he's got rushing upside. So I think you can get him on the cheap.
You actually think you can just go and like low ball somebody?
I think you can lowball someone. There's quarterbacks in the league, so you can be like, here, I'll give you so and so and you know,
Yeah.
a bottom tier QB. I mean,
I
think about it. Like people you could trade and get good value for Drake May on is Jared Goff. He's had one
Jared
good
Goff.
week. He's had one good week, but he's got elite wide receivers. Yeah, sure, he might have some upside, but Drake May's had that better reliability.
Yeah.
And
I,
then
I
even
think you're
with the
right as well.
trade
Like,
like
yeah. Go ahead.
even with a trade like that, you could probably say, I'll give you Jared Goff if you give me Drake May and potentially someone down the
Mhm.
line.
Yeah,
You can split them up.
absolutely. I think like it is a really good point to say like we'll discuss it further down the line as well, but name means a lot.
Yeah.
Like Drake may be really good in fantasy at the moment, the quarterback 4, but not everybody's going to be looking at that. Everybody's going to be looking and going like, well, it's Drake May. It's not Lamar Jackson. Um it's not Josh Allen, but he's in that tier at the moment points wise.
Yeah.
So think about, you know, can I get him on the cheap just because his name's not as big as these guys? The other quarterback I had, I don't know what you do with this guy because I had him as a top 10 before the season. He was drafted as a quarterback 9. He's dropped to the quarterback 15. It's Kyler Murray. We talk about rushing upside, but that guy can't hit a barn door. and he's not running
I
the ball that much.
It's less about not his wide receivers don't want to catch. I heard the best quote about Kyler Murray the other day. He is a great QB who hates his job.
Oh, he
Yeah,
absolutely despises it. Yeah.
he
He would rather
doesn't
be
like.
playing Call of Duty
Yeah,
all
he would
day.
rather be playing Call of Duty. He is a great worker who hates his job.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that just perfectly summed him up. I was like, yeah,
What I really think is he's got to run the ball more. If I was thinking like if I'm in a QB needy team and somebody out there has say Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray, they're going to be keeping Justin Herbert because he's had a really good start to the season, and you might be able to think lowball them on Kyler Murray and go like, well, he's their backup. I'll toss you like my running back three or my wide receiver three or whatever. Try to get Kyler Murray in, and yeah, just hope that he starts running the ball because that is when Kyler Murray's at his best. He did say he was going to run the ball more this year, and if he gets back to what he was doing before, which was like Lamar Jackson level numbers of rushing, then you've got a top five fantasy quarterback. But he's got to run.
exactly. I had an out there one for buy low.
Oh,
Now,
right, then go for it.
he's going to be on the most. He's going to be on the more expensive side of buy low, but he's been inconsistent. His only upside so far this year has been his rushing upside. But you could potentially get a decent enough trade for him where it is considered a buy low, and that's Jalen Hurts. And he could be a reliable QB. He's had one really stellar breakout game, and apart from that, he's been sort of middle of the pack.
Yeah, well, I think so. I was saying this before. Like my issue with Jalen Hurts is that he still carries name value for one thing,
Oh yeah,
and he was drafted quite high. So anybody who's drafted him has drafted them as their quarterback one. Um, typically they're not going to sell. They're not going to sell low. Let's just say not going to sell low. He was drafted as a quarterback four. He is now the quarterback five, and he does have high rushing upside. I mean, like that's just.
Yeah. But this is the thing in terms of quarterbacks, there's other quarterbacks, but there's, if you're really struggling for a quarterback, you might be able to trade Jalen Hurts for cheaper than you would be, say, any of the other sort of top ones. Obviously, a buy low one now would be Lamar Jackson, who's out for a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
And then obviously he's got a leg injury. So how mobile is he going to be? But I would say with injuries, don't take that risk.
Yep. No, that's fair enough. Jalen Hurts then kind of rolls into your other one. Your somebody who, to be fair, on the pitch is playing really well at the moment. They have a 40-40 shootout and they had a 40-37 shootout. Dak Prescott, the quarterback 11, he was drafted at. He's the quarterback 10 now, but you still might be able to get him. There's still a possibility of trade. What was your point on him?
I had him as sell high. I was like, if you want to get rid of him, get rid of him now. That is kind of his peak game.
I think that off the back of the Packers game. Yep, I think you're right.
Off the back of the Packers game, if you look at his fantasy points over this year, he has had one elite game. And I had these up actually.
Yeah.
So yeah,
throughout
the weeks, week 1, 7 points, week 2, 23, week 3, 14, and then he's broken the 30 mark this week.
Yeah, it's just kind of like up and down.
Inconsistent. And it's just one of those ones where I was like, you could get really good value for him.
Oh yeah, you can absolutely sell him.
But you could trade. People would probably accept a Jalen Hurts for Dak Prescott trade, and I think you would be winning that trade.
Yeah, no, I do think like this is the thing with like people who a lot of people in your fantasy league might not watch a lot of football. I know like Thomas, me and you are going to be on different sides of this because you're all like sell Dak. I would buy Dak because he just looks really, really good on the field. Like there's just something about the way he's playing at the moment. He's kind of back to where he was a couple of years ago rather than what he was last year. And I think a lot of fantasy managers will still look at him as the broken kind of shell that he was in 2024. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
You and I would do the Jalen Hurts for Dak Prescott trade. You and I would do that. I would give you Dak Prescott. If you had Jalen Hurts and I had Dak Prescott and I said, here, I'll trade you Dak Prescott for Jalen Hurts.
Straight up. Ooh, straight up.
Straight up.
No, I'd be keeping Jalen
Really?
I'll be looking for something maybe a bit more. Yeah, because Jalen still just Dak still doesn't quite have the rushing upside.
No,
You know me,
he
I'm a
ain't
sucker
got
for
much.
rushing upside, but if Jalen Hurts is potentially 15 rushing touchdowns a year, and I don't think Dak's anywhere going to be anywhere near that.
No,
So
he nearly had one, but then he got caught from behind by Micah Parsons over the weekend.
Micah Parsons, of all people, Micah Parsons.
All people.
God damn. God damn. But no, yeah, I think Prescott looks really good on the field, but there's on the field and then there's fantasy, which is why somebody like Justin Fields is always an example I use as like there's on the field play and then there's fantasy play. On the field, Justin Fields doesn't look great. But if you look at your fantasy scoreline at the end of the day and you're like, he got 30 points. How the hell did he get me 30 points? It's because he rushes all over the place. It's because he throws touchdowns all over the place. He is a fantasy gold mine.
He had that massive rush, didn't he? That sort of the 48-yard
It was like
TD.
48 yard to the
48 yards.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he'll do that. He's got that in him because I think he had a 1,000 yard rushing season or close to a few years back. So yeah. But on the field, you watch him try to throw the ball to like a receiver who's 2 yards in front of him, and he'll fire it over his head.
Yeah.
But as I say, he fills the box score at the end of it. So what are you going to do? Let me see. Did Adam have any quarterbacks? He did. He did have three quarterbacks, and these are all quite interesting to discuss. First one, probably the most interesting in terms of like, do you sell him now?
Is this sell high?
Probably better selling. You were probably better selling him a week ago, but Daniel Jones, drafted as a quarterback 31, obviously got the starting job in Indianapolis, Indiana Jones, they call him, and he is now the quarterback 7. So what do you do with that? Somebody's probably picked him up off the waiver wire. You could pick him up off the waiver wire and sell him for quite a high price tag at the moment. So what do you do?
I mean, he is kind of his points fancy wise are on a decline.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, there's no with those you like consistency a little bit. That's what you look for. And I think with the points going on the decline, were the Colts exposed by losing to the Rams? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think that was, you know what? It was a stupid loss because if you think about that drop.
AD Mitchell.
Yeah, no, you blame that wide receiver on that one.
Two separate occasions. He dropped the ball over the line. And then he had a holding call on a big Jonathan Taylor rush as well. So if you've got Jonathan Taylor in fantasy, you should be mad at Adonai Mitchell.
I think Daniel Jones was a sell high week 1, but nobody had him week 1.
True. That's why he was a waiver.
That's why he was a waiver wire number 1, and I think you're now seeing a little bit of inconsistency there. He might have another big week.
I was about to say they're playing I think they're at home to the Raiders this week. Next week might be your best chance to sell high. If they go out and he puts up, let's say, 3 in the air and 1 on the ground, and say 300 yards, then sell him then and go like this is the guy you're getting. And then when he plays some of the tougher teams down the line, you'll see what he actually is potentially. That's been a bit harsh to Daniel Jones because he has played really, really well.
He's done great, but that's on the field great. That's not fantasy great.
Hey,
as you said, two different things.
Oh, QB7 at the moment. So we're going to jump from the QB7 to the current QB6, which is Caleb Williams. He was drafted as a QB 15, and he's jumped up to the QB6. He has a bit of rushing upside this year. He's in a Ben Johnson offense. What do you do with Caleb Williams?
Is he on Adam's sell high?
Adam, let me see where he actually had him there. I think, oh yes, he did add like an extra message in saying Caleb Williams should be a sell high. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Caleb Williams for players on the rise as well. He says on the rise, which I don't know what that means. Is that sell high or is that buy? Are you buying him as he's on the rise?
This is why I questioned his wording. I'm assuming.
I don't think Adam got. Yeah.
No. I think on the rise sounds like buy low.
Yeah. At one point during his whole like how many messages was it, like 7 or 8 messages in a row? I thought he was on drugs. So it's fine. Caleb Williams will just kind of like bracket it and go like, what do you do with him? What would you do? Do you see him as like a sell high, or do you see him as a hold? Do you think this is consistent?
I think he's inconsistent. I mean, his stats are pretty much exactly the same as Jalen Hurts.
Mm.
He's
Yep.
just off a 12-point game there. Also, no one's going to trade for him this week because he's on bye week.
This is true. No, nobody's going to trade in a buy.
And then I'm looking at his schedule when he comes back. He is potentially in a couple weeks. You could probably buy him low, depending on how he performs against the Commanders. His 3 games after he plays the Commanders are Saints, Ravens, Bengals.
Good. Yeah, really good weeks. You could probably
Yeah,
keep him until the trade deadline, which in a lot of leagues is about week 10-ish. Yeah,
yeah.
you could probably sell him around then. He was actually somebody just traded for him or traded him away, depending on what way you work it. For a first round pick next year and a third round pick the year after,
Interesting. Interesting.
which which is definitely like a first. I'm not sure I would be throwing in a first and a third, maybe just the first or maybe a second and a third. But no, interesting. But that's also a league in which somebody traded 2 second round picks for DeAndre Swift. So that's kind of what you're playing with. Which is an interesting trade too. But so Caleb Williams, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do with him. I think if I had him on my team, I'd probably hold him. I think you're right, Thomas. Hold him until after a couple of those peak games.
Yeah.
If you can sell him for high then go for it. Because he's in a tough division, as you say. He's got 3 soft matchups coming up, but he's also got like the Packers and the Lions and whatever down the line, and the Vikings who they'll have numbers back. And the other one Adam had, and again, this was like he had it like on the decline. I don't know what you do with this player. If you're in redraft, you probably just drop him, and that's hard for me to say. But Trevor Lawrence was drafted as a quarterback 20. He's now the quarterback 25. Watching him, from my perspective, watching like every snap, he's not doing a lot to win the game for us at the moment, and it's tough to watch. What I would do with him as a Jags fan, as a Lawrence fan, would I buy him in Dynasty? Maybe, because it's still a Liam Cohen offense. He's still learning. Like this is similar to CJ Stroud and stuff like that. This is
Such a Jags response. How many times are you gonna say he's still learning? He's like year
no.
5.
What I'm saying is it's a Liam Cohen offense. I'm going to compare him to like other quarterbacks. It's like any quarterback who comes into a system and it's their first time doing it, and they have to call plays at the line of scrimmage and call motions themselves and all this kind of stuff for the first time. It takes a while to develop that. So the likes of Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud are going to be like a really steep learning curve this year, and you might not actually see the benefits until after the bye week. The Jags have their bye week 8, I think.
And he hasn't exactly got easy matchups as well this year.
But I think you can probably pick him up off the waiver at the moment in quite a lot of leagues. I think he's only rostered in about 40%. So
I'd say I don't see much upside for him. He's got tough matchups.
yeah, the Chiefs matchup's not good.
I mean, like he played against the easiest defense in the league, the Bengals and the Panthers, and in those 2 games combined, he got 32 points.
Yeah, the Bengals game was really messy in the second half, which didn't fill me with confidence. The Panthers game, weirdly, he played really well, but only for the first half, because then we didn't have to do anything in the second half. So it was a bit of a different game.
Worst 2 defenses in the league. He got 32 points. That's his upside, and he's got tough matchups. I don't think you're going to get much from him. I'd say you just drop him. I think you're getting a bag of peanuts for him. You're literally getting no one.
I don't think he's a trade candidate. I don't know where Adam had him on that, but I don't think he's anybody that's going to garner any kind of trade value at the moment. But we'll see. We'll see later on in the season. Hopefully, the Jags will. But we'll jump into running backs, shall we? We'll maybe jump to Tomas's running backs. So
I had 2 buy lows.
You had 2 buy lows. Yes, remind me of the second one because I've got Kamara sitting there.
No, they were sell highs.
They were sell high.
Yeah, my buy lows were these
RJ
guys
Harvey.
are people who are going to be upside. Now, the second one is going to be one. His stock is trending up, so you either pull the trigger on it quickly,
Hmm.
or his stock's going to continue to go up. So the first one is RJ Harvey.
RJ Harvey,
J.K.
yeah.
Dobbins is the undoubtable number one RB in that Broncos offense, highly efficient. But RJ Harvey had his highest amount of touches and was really efficient with him this year, that last game, week 4.
Mhm.
He has done nothing previous to this. You can get him for cheap.
Yep.
It wasn't even a massive outscoring game, but J.K. Dobbins has terrible injury history, and we have seen the season absolutely plagued with injuries. But also, he's getting more of a target share of the touches, so he's
Yeah,
going to.
I think it's definitely the injury history, and as you say, like anytime you see RJ Harvey in, it's typically passing downs, and those are the money downs if you're
Yeah.
if you're bringing running backs in, particularly in PPR leagues. So no,
And that's
I'm with you on buying him low. You could probably get him for a steal at the moment. He
and
might be
that's
on waivers.
yeah. He might be on waivers actually. You might be able to get him
Go and check.
really good. Yeah. And especially with RBs being like a really tough thing to get at the moment. Like, we're kind of scraping the barrel on everything at the moment. He's one that you could get. The other one is Cam Scatterbo. Now I love this guy, but he hasn't had his massive breakout game. He is like currently being a sort of average RB 2 or 3. Not even an RB2, but RB3. If he does have his big breakout game, his stock value is going to go up. But he is that number one lead back in the Giants at the
I mean,
moment.
arguably he had his breakout week in week 3 when he took over for Tyrone Tracy and when he was the RB6 in week 3. Just crazy to think. But yes, drafted as the RB 39, currently the RB 20, so he is on the rise. If you want to buy him now because I think he's only going to go up.
Yeah. So it's a pretty dry season for running backs. If you can get him, get him, and try get him
Yeah.
soon. His value is going to continue to go up.
Or alternatively, sell him soon because he's going to get a concussion at some point. Just keeps headbutting people.
Yeah, but I reckon he's been doing that his entire life. He's going to be all right.
You reckon he's got one of those like
He's got
ultra
one of
thick
those
skulls,
super
like
thick skulls. Yeah.
the not to belittle him, but the old Neanderthal skull.
Yeah.
I think it's actually what it's
Yeah.
called. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then yes, your sell high, wasn't it? Was Kamara then?
Sell high, I had 2, and I'm just sort of saying on this first one, and this will be same for my sell high on wide receiver as well. But pretty much get rid of anybody on this team. They are
Hmm.
absolutely awful at the
I know
moment.
who this is.
So first RB to sell high, Chase Brown. He had really high stock value, really high potential, but this offense isn't doing anything. The O line's not helping him. It almost seems like the team's just given up on the season.
Yep.
So you might be able to get name value for him. Again, it's a running back dry league.
Yep.
You could probably get a good trade value for him.
Your only hope at the moment is name value
Yeah.
really because he's like RB 12. Well, he was drafted the RB 12. He's now down to the RB 32,
Yeah.
and he actually had a decent week last week in terms of yardage and catch wise. I think he did go over 10 points for the first time this year, knowing because I have him in about 3 leagues. Um,
I don't have him in any, but I am not touching him with a 10-foot pole.
yeah, but you might genuinely be
Yeah.
able to take that and go like, right, okay,
Yeah.
let's try to ship him out and get. I don't even know what running back you can try to grab for that value or what wide receiver, but
Yeah.
try to get somebody in that RB2 wide receiver 2 kind of bracket
He's
and
still
ride it
the
out.
he's still the workhorse for that offense. He's still the one doing the carries and doing the runs. The problem is they're losing so much they're not going to a running game.
Yeah, well, it's also a case of like if you're maybe from the outside looking in, you might think about buying the dip at the moment, and that's where you get the chance to potentially sell them because as much as we want to slag off the Bengals have played 2 of the toughest defenses in the league the last couple of weeks. So it's a case of like, okay, the Bengals are bad.
Yeah.
Bengals are bad, but they're not as bad as maybe they've shown the past couple of weeks.
No, exactly. And
Jake,
then
Jake Browning, the last time he was the starter for this team was a top 10 wide receiver or top 10 quarterback for 5 out of the 8 weeks. And he's just had two of like the worst fantasy weeks in the world. So there's a potential for a bump.
but it's that whole thing. It seems like the preparation, and it seems like Joe Burrow was the sort of linchpin behind that team. And without him, it's just crumbled, which is amazing for Joe because talk about your. I know you just signed another big contract, but going into another,
Well, yeah, he doesn't
yeah,
need
yeah,
the bag
he
again. Like, I
doesn't.
mean,
Yeah, the fact that his contract value is going up with him being injured is just something else on its own. Um, but the second RB that I had, which is sell high, and again, this is a name value alone, is Alvin Kamara. I mean,
yep.
he is still the workhorse RB on that team. He's pretty much their solid offensive player, but terrible offense.
Also,
And
it's a really good week to look at it because Kendra Miller got a lot of touches
yeah,
against the Bills. So
no,
yeah,
exactly. So
I,
this is the other thing. It's going into more of a committee as well, and you know he's older, but you could probably get him on name alone. Now, with these sell highs, there might be the potential of they have big weeks, but you want more consistency.
what I would say is, and I think somebody in our dynasty league, I think Aaron, just put him on the trade block. That's the place you sell him. Is a dynasty league. If you've got him in dynasty at the moment, and he's what 30-year-old running back, is he 30?
He
And he's
is,
still got
yeah,
that workhorse role. Sell him to a contender. Sell him to somebody who thinks they're going to win the championship this year and get a future pick and a good young player for it and go for it. If you can get like a 23, 24-year-old running back and future draft capital for Alvin Kamara, then that's where you sell him. I think that's what I would do.
no, yeah,
My running back, and like this is more again. What do you do with this guy? But Travis Etienne was grossly undervalued before the season. Coming from a Giants standpoint, grossly undervalued. He was the running back 34 in drafts, and he is now the running back 9 in fantasy. Like he's getting a ridiculous number of yards. He's a bit of a workhorse running back for that team. They traded away Tank Bigsby. What do you do with ETN? Do you try to cash in on that,
I think
or
you keep him. I
or
like.
do you? Yeah.
I mean, you could cash in on it. The thing about him is he's consistent. It's not like his stocks inflated because he's had like a massive game breaking week like Genty just has. He has
Yeah.
had consistent, 15 to 20 point games all 4 weeks. And as you said, he was drafted really low. He is exceeding his value when you got him.
Yeah.
Probably the week to trade him would have been week 2 when he had that big week and they got rid of Bigsby. And then
Yeah.
you're like, that's when his stock's the highest, and you could probably got someone elite for it. But now I think he is. I hate to say this because he's a Jags player, but he is elite.
Yay.
You know,
Yay.
a top 10 RB is elite. That's going to be someone who's
Yeah.
going to win you a league.
And I think as well with the amount of injuries that are happening at the moment,
Yeah.
I have ETN in a couple of leagues because obviously,
Hmm.
um, but I'm holding him. I'm just holding him because the amount of injuries that are happening. Touch wood, it doesn't happen to ETN, but you're better at running back. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going into my team every week and I'm like, right, especially now that the bye weeks are starting, I'm like, right, this guy's on a bye and two of my bench guys are injured. Like who do I actually put in? So if you've got somebody who's consistently a top 10 running back on a weekly basis,
You keep
you
him.
ride that out as long as you can.
Yeah.
Then once he has a dip, maybe you go like, well, he was good at the start of the year. Do you want to take him? We'll see. I think that's it for running backs, unless you want to discuss. Well, no, Javonte Williams is an interesting one. Say Ashton Genty's a bit different, but Javonte Williams is definitely an interesting one.
I have this one, and I call this one a watch the hype. Like, at the moment, he's consistent, but I just like that. Just something about that Cat Dallas team makes me nervous. This is why I've got Dak on sell high, Javonte Williams. I just don't know. It just feels like it's a bubble and it's going to pop.
Yeah.
And I think what we've seen from Javonte Williams, who was a bottom RB. What do you say? Number
Running back
36?
36. So he was, well, I mean, it was only two after ETN. So there you go.
But
That's
I just
something
don't
like
know.
that.
I just don't see it as consistent.
Yeah. No, I think it is interesting because obviously he struggled with injuries for so long. You're kind of thinking, well, is he all the way back, or is it game script, or is it just soft defense? Like what is it? But he's doing it against good defenses, so you've got to think there's some Cowboys fans out there, there's some old Broncos fans or something who would buy him now. Like that's it.
It's weird that we
And
talk
I,
about
I might be right. I might be right.
it. It's weird that we talk about him like right after we talk about Etienne because I was like, he's consistent, almost as consistent as Etienne, more so.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah,
just
so
like,
like
I don't trust
it's
him
like
more.
what's in your head,
It's in
what's
what's
in
in
your
your
head to
head.
stop
It's
it.
so like, yeah. So Etienne, I'd say keep Javonte Williams. I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
know if someone gives you a really good trade offer in a position you're needing, ship him.
Yeah.
But that could be a really like again, I don't know.
This is Nathan's taking notes over here. He's like, oh, I've got him. I got what I do. What? No, it is an interesting one. I don't know. Again, like running back is a position that I know we're talking about buy sell a lot,
Hmm.
but it's a position that not a lot of people are going to be selling at the moment. So unless you've got a really good offer, it's going to be really hard to go out and buy any of these guys anyway. Because they're just dropping like flies. And then another position where they're dropping like flies is wide receiver. So if you've got any of these guys at wide receiver, like I'm going to throw out one who was drafted as the wide receiver 37. There's now
Hmm.
the wide receiver 3 in standard scoring. It's Roma Dunze. And
Interesting.
in previous years, that kind of jump, particularly in redraft, you sell. You're like, right, okay. If somebody comes in here with an offer of another wide receiver 1 or a running back 1 or something for this guy, hell yeah, I'm taking that offer because it's a bit of a spike. But there's a chance that he's the undisputed wide receiver 1 in a high-powered Ben Johnson offense. So what do you do,
And
Thomas? What do you think?
the thing with wide receivers is you look at targets. He's getting a lot of targets. There's not really a
Mhm.
dip. His lowest amount of targets all season was 7.
Yeah, it is. It's
Like
been
him and Caleb
crazy.
Williams have that connection. So again, bad week to sell him because he's on a bye week. But then immediately after that, it's that run of really easy games.
This is
It's
this
that
is someone, yeah. This
his
is someone I
value.
tried to buy. I tried to buy the dip on him in Dynasty last year. I actually made an offer to Adam
Hmm.
towards the end of last year of a running back. I think it was basically any of my running backs, but it was either Swift or Pacheco and like a second round pick for a Dunze. And Adam was like, "Oh, let me think about it." And then the season started, and he was like, "No, I'm holding him." I was like, "Right, okay, done."
Yeah, yeah. With Adam, you
And I
need
was
to
like,
put like a timer on. Don't let
"Yeah,
people sort of like and ah about picks. If they're gonna mess around, you take the pick away from them. Don't like hang on to them. Just be like, look, I'm gonna take this away after a day
yeah."
because I've got other
Especially with
options
how
out there.
bad, especially with how bad Pacheco's been.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
like it's so annoying.
But the thing is, if you look at Dunze's schedule, he might get you into your playoff bracket. He might get you into the
Mhm.
playoffs. But
Yeah.
his schedule once you're in the playoffs is terrible. So
Ooh,
he might
hit me with it.
cost you. So it might be a case of keep him till week 10.
Hey,
Then
what's the playoff bracket?
well, I mean, so finals are normally week 17 and they're
Finals,
away
but
to
yeah. Finals week 7.
yeah, and they're away to San Francisco. The
San
week
Fran. Okay.
the week before that, they're playing Green Bay.
Green Bay. Tough. Tough.
The week before that, and this has been a surprising one because they've actually had a sneaky good defense, Cleveland.
Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland are really good defense this year.
And then
I
the
think there's
week
anything
before
sneaky about it. I think it's just their best unit by far.
and then the week before and then 2 weeks before that, they've got away to Philadelphia and away to Green Bay back to back.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm
yeah,
like
if
I'm
you're
like,
listening to this and none of your friends are, then yes, sell Roma Dunze in about week 10
yeah.
and you'll be
And
fine.
he's gonna get targets. He's gonna get, they're playing some of the worst defenses. Like, I mean, that schedule is just unfair to
No,
the rest of the league. Like, that is just an absolutely
that
gift of a
is
schedule.
that is crazy. The other wide receiver I had was I mean, everybody's probably been talking about this guy, cryptic tweets and everything going up, but AJ Brown. So wide receiver 10 is where he was drafted. He's currently the wide receiver 48. And that's with one spike week. He's had three terrible weeks and one spike week. So even it was only really a good half he had.
Yeah.
So what do you do with him? I mean, can you even sell him at this point? Is the name value going to carry any
I
real
think
any real weight?
I think you can sell him quite high. I think you
Hmm.
can. Name value. He is a year on year since being in what Philadelphia. He's been a 1,300 yard receiver.
Yep. Yep.
He gets catches, he gets targets, he gets TDs. Now it's a slow start, so his stock value, you're right, is down. But name and potential, you could probably get a good.
But that's the question. That's the question as well. Like they're talking about, are the Eagles going to need to shift their offensive strategy at some point? Because their offense was terrible in the second half against the Buccaneers because the Buccaneers worked out that they wanted to run the ball. So they just stacked the box. I think the Eagles, like somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on this one, probably in the comments, but the Eagles, I think, had negative yards in that second half. I think it was like -1 yards on offense in that second half. So the question going forward then is, do you start to throw the ball more because that worked for you when you targeted AJ Brown against the Rams
Hmm.
the week previous? So you could look at it from that way if you're an Eagles fan or whatever, buy the dip and go like, well, somebody's going to give this guy away to me now, and he'll eventually get targets because that's what he does.
It's also one you could buy pretty cheap as well. Like
Yeah,
you could you
that's what
could
I
you
mean.
could get this, and again, almost opposite of what we just talked about for Rome Odunze. He's got a couple of tough matchups coming up. He's going to be covered by um flip, what's the name of the corner in Denver?
At Sertan, yeah,
Zertan. He's going to be
the
covered by
defensive player of
Zertan
the
next.
year last year, I think.
Yeah. And then he's got the Giants, then he's got Minnesota, or who's that one? Yeah, Minnesota. And then it's actually, so the Giants are a pretty easy matchup apparently, but then it's home to the Giants, bye week, home at Green Bay or away to Green Bay. Then they play Dallas, which is just a shootout, even though he only got one reception. It's a thing that he could get better over time.
Yeah,
I think this is a slump for him. So you could probably get him cheap, but also you could probably ask a bit more for him, or someone might ask a bit more for him just on name value alone.
yeah. No, I think you're there with it. Let me see. I'm trying to get the drive chart for this game against the Buccaneers because the second half stats were ridiculous, but I can't see the drive chart. I think on their very last drive, I think they went -35 yards, which is just like wild
It's just
stat.
absolutely
But
nuts.
it's in terms of obviously penalties and stuff like that as well. But they actually went backwards 35 yards, which is really impressive. But no, it's interesting with AJ Brown. I think you need to make a judgment call yourself, particularly if you own him in fantasy and you've spent a second round draft pick on him. It's a tough one then to just sell him for nothing. So definitely an interesting one. Wide receiver wise, then Adam had thrown well another one in that same kind of bracket. I would have looked at him in a similar kind of bracket to AJ Brown is Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas, we could talk about, do you sell him on name value or do you buy the dip? And you could be right on both counts. He was a wide receiver 8 out of the draft, so back end of the first round, start of the second round in most drafts, and he's now the wide receiver 44. What do you do?
I think there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype for him last season, and he had a good
I
last
know.
season. And I think that hype carried a lot. So I don't think he's got the name. Like he hasn't got the name. He's got the name because he was drafted so high, but it's not like he's like a AJ Brown
Yep.
or Jamar Chase or anything like that, where you can sort of say, "Oh yeah, he's an elite wide receiver yet," because he's not. So I think you could get him really cheap, and I do
Mm-hmm.
think what he's going through is a slump. I think he's a. If you're low on wide receivers, get him cheap. If you need
Yeah.
a wide receiver, you could actually trade not much for him, and you could probably get something.
Yeah.
And he could be good.
The sad thing looking at it from a Jags angle is, unfortunately, I'm watching every single snap from this guy, and it's not like he's not being targeted. It's not the same as AJ Brown where he's only getting targeted 2 or 3 times a game. He's getting targeted 10 plus times a game, and he just can't catch.
He just doesn't
There's
seem to
some,
have.
there's some, either he's not in the right place, or he just drops the ball, or he doesn't make the right call when he gets the ball. And this is That's the infuriating thing as well. It's like he's lost confidence completely. So you kind of hope he has a spike week that just all of a sudden brings all his confidence back and he just starts to dominate again. But
He
he's
wasn't even,
overthinking things a lot.
yeah, and he wasn't even in the advert, the Adidas advert with Lawrence and Travis Hunter.
No, no,
No.
it's
So
maybe this is
that's
it.
gonna knock his confidence. I
You-
mean, to
you-
be fair, that is the worst advert I've ever seen.
but you know what I mean? Maybe he's feeling left out. Maybe somebody
Yeah.
else has been drafted in the first round. Travis has come in. Travis is like Trevor's little playmate, and Brian Thomas is just sitting there like I don't know, playing with himself. So it's not great. It's not great. Oh dear, dear, dear. But anyway, um, yes. So another one who was drafted really high, dropping now, doesn't really doesn't have a good quarterback situation. It's Jamar Chase, wide receiver one out of the draft, undisputed like number one overall out of pretty much every draft. He's now the wide receiver 21, and it's going down and down and down. What do you do? Because he is somebody that you can get a bag for because of his name.
Oh, 100%. He was the number one, not just the like drafted in the first round, he was the number one pick
Mm.
coming into this year. He was, Triple Crown winner last year. He's got, and the thing is, he still gets open. Like
He
it's going to be
does.
one of those ones. It's not like he's just turned into a bad wide receiver. He's still a great wide receiver. He just doesn't have anyone throwing the ball.
Yep.
And that situation might change. Like the Bengals might go for a trade and get someone, and he might, but don't gamble on it. I'd say
Yeah.
you could trade him. You could probably trade him for Cam Scadaboo and Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh, you
You
could
could
actually.
you
That would be
probably
a nice trade.
if you see someone in there, you could probably say, "Hey, I'll give you Jamar Chase if you give me Cam Scadaboo and Brian Thomas Jr." And
Yeah.
someone would be like, "Actually, you know what? That's not," and that's just on name alone. Like he is.
Yeah.
I don't know what his point scoring's like, but he didn't have a great first week with Joe Burrow.
No, no. I mean, Chase is, I say, sitting there, wide receiver 21. I think his spike actually came weirdly
Week
at
two
the
against the
at the
Jags.
at the end of the game against the Jags when Browning was in, and it was just bombs away at the end of that game for whatever reason. Browning hasn't played the same since.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's one of those interesting ones, and it's the same with T Higgins. If you're the T Higgins owner, be thinking along the same lines that somebody will buy T Higgins based off draft capital and value there, and the fact that he just got a big contract. So yeah, bear that in mind. If you own them, I mean, I don't know. Good luck. But there's somebody that is on the rise and is playing for a team who has an injured wide receiver one, George Pickens, drafted as the wide receiver 28. He's now the wide receiver 5, and he had a really good week against the Packers. What do you do with George Pickens?
I think you hold him for another week or two.
Oh, yeah, through the injuries.
I'd say, like, his stock value is gonna go down. He is currently the wide receiver one. He's got a good connection um with Dak Prescott. He's getting the ball, but as soon as CD Lamb comes back, that's gonna be a share, that's gonna be shared. CD Lamb's gonna come back and be the number one
Mm.
guy if he comes back 100% and healthy. So I would actually sort of say you could probably hold him. He's going to have another couple of great weeks, and maybe the week
A week or
before
two.
CeeDee Lamb comes back or the week after, you could probably trade him for really high stuff. There's other good wide receivers out there. There's enough good wide receivers you can pick up out there or trade for out there,
Yep.
but you could probably get a really, really good running back for a George Pickens trade in a couple
Yeah.
of weeks.
Yeah. And again, it all depends, no matter what league you're in, it all depends kind of something we've not talked about, but where you are in the league, do you think you're challenging at the top? Are you in a redraft league where you're 3-1, 4-0? Because if you're there, then you definitely hold Pickens for now because you're not really going to find anybody better for the next couple of weeks. If you're in a league where you've just gone like 0-4 and you've got George Pickens sitting there, you could maybe trade him and get a couple of assets and really bolster your team before, as you say, before CeeDee Lamb comes back and tanks his value. If you're in a dynasty league and you're struggling and some contenders sitting there and wants George Pickens, then this is your best chance to cash in.
Yeah, his stock it's on the rise and it's going to continue to go up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
Same.
CeeDee Lamb's going to come back and then it's going to go down.
Absolutely. That's interesting. That's the first cowboy that you've actually spoken positively about, Thomas.
I know it's weird. It's weird. I
Doesn't
don't know.
just doesn't feel right, doesn't it? No.
I feel like there's
That's
a lot of teams
good.
I don't like, and I'm not too sure why. Maybe it's just like a, unconscious bias towards some teams. Maybe it's because you like the Jags. It makes me not like them so much.
Yeah, you are very harsh towards the Jags. I have noticed that. It hasn't gone under my radar. Yeah. And it seems unnecessary because, to be honest, we're worse to ourselves than anybody could ever be to us. So it's
Yeah,
like,
but you were like you
yeah,
guys were dicks for like 3 years after that playoff game
what?
against Tom Brady,
What?
and you keep going on
What?
about this. Oh, this catch that
Jack
wasn't
was
catched.
Jack wasn't
Yeah,
down.
there you
Jack
go.
wasn't down, and he
Exactly. Yeah.
wasn't
No,
down.
he
So,
was down.
I'm a
He
Patriots
was
fan.
down.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've won a million Super Bowls.
Here we go.
Oh.
Here we go. Look, it's coming right back. This is why nobody in the
we
league
we had
wants
we
you.
had we had 1 year where we could be dicks and we just felt great. It was that Saxonville season. Since then, it has been just unmitigated
It's
shit.
just been
So,
miserable.
so yeah, just you take what you can get. Whereas the Patriots, oh, we had 20 years where we were like the best team in the league, Jack. God
I
damn.
I actually have one that is you could probably sell high, and it's a risky sell high in wide
Oh,
receivers,
okay, hit me with it.
and that's Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle is a
Now
good.
Tyreek Hill is out. Is he ever coming back? We don't know. That was a brutal injury. But Jalen
Oh,
Waddle's now
God.
stock value is gone up because he is the wide receiver one. But that offense is terrible. Tyreek
Yeah,
Hill's been injured before, and Jalen Waddle's historical performance hasn't gone up that much.
no,
But because he is that wide receiver one now, you could probably get a lot more value for him than he's
yeah,
really worth.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you could make a good trade on that one right away. And again, as I said, this league is always sort of quite wide receiver heavy.
Mhm.
It's running backs. It's getting if you need an elite tight end, and I don't think there really is any elite tight ends this year. But there's you know getting
Right.
position you're weak on. If you've got an abundance of one, you could probably get rid of Waddle. He might be consistent, but his
Yeah,
value right now is going to be
I
massively
mean,
higher.
yeah, I've got him in a league, and I definitely have contemplated. I've got him in 2 leagues, I think, and he kind of sits either on the bench or in my flex, and I'm like, I could sell him, and I'm waiting for a chance. So it's definitely something I'm gonna bear in mind because, as you say, his stock goes up without Tyreek Hill, but should his stock go up without Tyreek Hill is the real
I
question.
reckon as soon as he has that first game and he doesn't break 10 points, his stock plummets. you know,
Yeah,
unless he comes back out and then he has like a 30-point game, he plays like Pickens did last week. You
yeah,
know, but can I see that happening the way that offense has been playing?
yeah. He's
I
playing
mean,
against the Panthers this week, so maybe hold him in the hope that he has a spike game against the Panthers and then you cash in because he didn't even have a great game against the Jets. So it's not like he benefited from Tyreek Hill going down in that game. So maybe hold him for a week because I'm not sure his value's that high yet. But yeah, definitely a chance to sell him at some stage. We're going to go on and talk about these tight ends that there are no good tight ends
I never
that
said
don't
good. I
exist.
said like elite. I'm talking
No,
about the
that no
days,
elite.
I'm talking about the days where Rob Gronkowski or Travis Kelsey were the number one
I
picks.
know.
They were going in the first round. They were like having a top five wide receiver in a position where was normally getting sort of maybe 10 points.
Yeah, do you remember the Travis Kelsey days? Looking at him now,
Yeah.
ready to get married, distracted, not catching passes. You know, it's sad. It's sad to watch.
It's hard to watch.
And Gronk. I mean, Pete Gronk was unbelievable for fantasy. Like, holy smokes,
I know.
just
He
ran over guys.
game changer, wasn't he? He was.
He was. He was. And Brady just kept throwing him the ball. He was always the number one target, and he was always open for some reason. Never really knew. But anyway, so potential tight ends, somebody who's been fairly elite to start the season. Well, fairly elite, say the last couple of weeks. Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson drafted as a tight end 15, now the tight end 2 in standard scoring. That to me, that's a really good sell high candidate, particularly if you're needy at running back or a wide receiver. Because there's always tight ends you can stream off the waiver wire. There's not necessarily running back or wide receivers you can stream off the waiver wire. And tight end too, that's. And he's seeing a spike. He's seeing a spike because of CD Lamb as well. He's another one.
Yeah, so he's gonna be a high one. I had as a high Tucker Craft. Now he's tight end 4 of the season.
Tucker Craft is, and he was drafted fairly low, and in fact,
fairly low.
he was picked up in waivers in a lot of leagues.
But he's really had like one great game or one decent game, but he's still getting a good target share in sort of like a kind of a messy offense.
Yep.
I think you could sell him quite high. The thing what I'm saying about there's no like elite tight ends or anything like that is the number 1 tight end has 45 points. Right. That's just on average 11 points a game.
Yep. You're looking at the guys that were drafted. Who is the number 1? Is it McBride at the moment? Is it McBride?
No, it's Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry's the number 1. See, that is a real teller that Hunter Henry's the number 1.
Hunter
if you can sell Hunter Henry, sell him. Yeah,
yeah, he's a sell high. Any tight end is a sell high at the moment.
Brock Bowers isn't. He's one that we were going to bring up because he was drafted as a tight end 1. He's now the tight end 11, and he is struggling. Geno Smith has not been who we thought Geno Smith was going to be. I'm quite high on Geno, and I'm starting to waver quite drastically. Turnover machine.
It's like Brock Bowers is tight end 11, and he's, he's 11 points behind tight end 1. He has a good week. He's up there at tight end 1.
So buy the dip on Bowers quite possibly. If you could trade somebody your wide receiver 2 and get Brock Bowers, get him, because he could potentially have an end of the season where he just takes off.
He's going through there. But Hunter Henry seems like he is the target guy for Drake May. I think he's going to sort of remain a bit consistent. I just think tight end's a really hard one. I think you can,
like Juwan Johnson. Do you sell Juwan Johnson early because he was the tight end 33 in drafts and he's the tight end 7 at the moment? So there you go. What do you do with Njoku? This is my thought, because Fannon's getting more targets than him. So this rookie has come in at tight end for the Browns and is getting more targets. David Njoku, I saw as a value in the draft. He was the tight end 10 in the draft, and he's the tight end 23. Does he just have no value?
I don't think he's having any value. I don't think he's getting the targets. He's not getting the points. I don't think people are going to trade you for him, and I don't think people are going to accept trades for him. Like the idea of trading is to shore up a position you're weak on by getting rid of a position you're strong on, or you've got like room to grow on. And tight end is one of those ones where there's nobody who's going to be a difference maker. Like if Hunter Henry gets another 2 tight end, 2 TD game, his stock value is massively up. He is miles in the lead of a tight end 1, and you could, as you said, you could probably trade him quite high.
I'll give you one. I am in a league, the Lomboidi Championship, which I'm the commissioner of as well, where I have Tucker Craft and Juwan Johnson. So good wee tight end duo. Who do I sell high? What do I try to get? That's like a thinking out loud kind of thing. I've got Bucky Irving, Jordan Mason, Cam Scatabo, and Chase Brown at running back. I have Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Jameson Williams, Roma Dunze, and Travis Hunter at wide receiver.
This is actually a really tough one in terms of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I've got a Dunze in there. I've got Chase Brown in there. He was one of our talks. Got Scatabo.
I would say you want to keep Tucker Craft, but the thing is, tight ends, you kind of look at receptions and targets. And Dwayne Johnson's had more targets. Last game he had like 3, I think, something really low. But Tucker Craft hasn't had double digits targets.
4-7, 4-5, and Juwan Johnson is what? John Johnson was 11,983. So three was a dip. Like that was a
Three was
massive dip.
three was a dip, and that was
He's
against tough defense as well.
and he's got Giants, Patriots, and Bears coming up. So he's
Yeah,
got decent matchups as well. No, could just hold for now.
yeah. I think you could get rid of Kraft.
I think I can try to trade Craft. I'll see. I'll see what I can get. I'll dial up a wee trade package. Nice, nice. No, that was good. Thanks. That was very helpful. um, awesome. The
I don't
other
know. I don't know what
the
you.
only other time.
I don't know what you're going to get from because Titans, as I said, they're just the bang average mediocrity. Like you might get a great kicker or defense for them.
You know there was one I was really annoyed at. I forget which league it was. I had James Conner was effectively either my third or fourth running back. Like I was really deep at running back, and I was like, I'm going to trade James Conner because I'm not even going to play him this week. And then that was the week that he got the season-ending knee injury, and I was like, oh, or ankle injury, and I was like, oh my God, I could have got I could have got something so good for that guy, and now he's just gone. So yeah, frustrating things.
But is this not like the way of fantasy football that hindsight's 2020? Like it's always perfect.
Yeah, but I suppose thank God I had two better options already, so I wasn't exactly panicking, but I could have just bolstered my wide receiver room or something.
Could have.
Um, yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts is the last name I think that we hadn't talked about. Does he have trade value is the question because
I think
he
he's one
he,
you
de he
can.
definitely had name value a couple of years ago. His name's kind of been trodden through the dirt a little bit. Where do you see him?
I like him, and that's only because I've got him in a few leagues. So I really hope he actually starts to like step up and play well. But I do like him. He has had his best week there, in that last game. But his reception wise, he's 8-5, 8-5. He's consistent that way.
Mhm.
He hasn't had a elite breakout game. He's not getting touchdowns. That's the main thing.
Yeah, he
But
needs to be targeted in the red zone.
but
Yep.
he needs to be targeted in the red zone. He still is an athletic tight end, quite young, in a decent offense. Well, with decent pieces around him, apart from decent QB.
My thing would be though, right? Knowing myself from like paying attention to the sport and just seeing all the news and behind the scenes, the talk of him in his early career wasn't necessarily that he wasn't athletic, because everybody knows he's athletic. He's an
Yeah.
athletic freak. Um, but the work ethic, the
Yeah, I've heard that.
all that kind of training mentality and stuff like that was always apparently really bad. So my question would be like, if he does put together a string of really good weeks, is that where you sell him because you know that typically maybe he's not going to read the playbook for the next week or he's not going to study it well enough? I just don't know.
Yeah, again, it's tight ends. It's a weird position this year. As I said, there's not like the elite ones. There's not a massive jump between first and 20th. It's like I think he's one of those ones where he's got more upside.
Put it into perspective. I picked him up off the waiver wire in a dynasty league, and that never happens.
No,
So
and
I
I
was very,
think
very, very happy with that.
he was drafted quite early in our dynasty league as well.
Oh no, that's not the league that I picked him up in.
Hmm.
It's another dynasty league I'm in.
Oh,
But yeah, I was shocked to see him out there, and I was like, well, surely I just sign him now. I think that I just had Mark Andrews and a couple of rookies at the time, and I was like, at the very least, he can be a backup for Mark Andrews. So no, there you go. So if he does have a few spike weeks, I can trade him or Mark Andrews if he still has any trade value at all, which probably not. So that's cool. Have done the stock exchange. We have bought low, we've sold high. We don't really know where we're at, but no, that was fun. That was fun. We'll do something similar to that
we gotta
later
we
on
gotta
this
relook
season.
at that. We
See,
gotta look at that again, like week 8. Do another for week 1, and then before
yeah.
um
Most trade deadlines are about week
trade
9 or
deadline.
10, so week
Yeah,
8 sounds like a
week
good
8.
time to
Start looking
revisit.
around. Do it again week 10. See what teams are looking like locked in.
No, it's a good
But
idea.
we
That was
did.
that was that was good crack.